Welcome to this video. My name is Kata and I'm talking today about nurturing your inner child, and the reason that this is going to be extremely important in the coming weeks. Nurturing the inner child is something that I have been doing work on myself. The reason why I've been doing this work is because I realized there was a lot of unresolved, unhealed issues within myself that I really wasn't able to work on. It's like I hit a plateau. I wasn't able to get past a certain point, and the reason why I wasn't a certain point of development of emotional freedom, and the reason why I wasn't able to move past a certain level of emotional freedom was because I realized recently that I was really leaving some unturned rocks, if you will, within my psyche. I was really leaving some unlooked at and unhealed things within myself. And one of the main things that I observed through meditation was my inner child. My inner child has been long neglected, and I didn't realize that I was neglecting her. I didn't realize that I had put her on a back shelf and that I left her there and I forgot her there. And the reason why I'm making this video today is because I know now, and I understand through my own meditation and through my own healing journey and process, that if we don't look at those inner wounds and those wounds that we all accumulated from childhood, then it will be very difficult for us to transcend them and to move up to the next level of abundance and prosperity and thriving in our lives. Because those hurts and those traumas are those unhealed parts of ourselves, or broken parts of ourselves, are the limitation. They are what create limitation within us. And the reason why they create limitation is because it's like, think of it this way, it's like a child that never grows up, essentially. That is what your inner child is. And if you don't acknowledge that inner child, if you don't nurture it, if you don't love it, and if you don't care for it and acknowledge it within yourself, then you just remain stuck. You remain unhealed. And I have yet to encounter anyone that has had a completely perfect childhood without, having some things that caused trauma, even though they may not have been traumatic events, but they could have been things that they heard or things that was said to them that really hurt the child on a very deep level, or really scarred the child, or really put down the child, or felt, or the child felt like they were just absolutely non-existent. So there's so many of these little tiny fragments and parts of ourselves that I'm realizing now that they're like tiny shards of glass. And if you don't pull them out, if you don't seek them out within yourself, and if you don't pull them out, and you pull them out through healing it, through nurturing, through the meditation that I did for myself, it was like an inner child healing. It was a self-love meditation, actually, and it was amazing. It was all about really truly going within. And as she took me, it was a guided meditation, and as her voice was carrying me deeper and deeper into my heart space, boy, was I finding some shards of glass in there. And those shards of glass were definitely from my childhood. They definitely came from all of the times that I felt unloved, uncared for, all the times that I felt I didn't receive enough attention, perhaps from mom, also from dad, all of the times that I didn't feel nurtured in the way that I truly needed, especially as a very sensitive child, sensitive emotionally, physically, in so many different ways. I was just very hypersensitive as a kid. And I'm realizing now that I was kind of mishandled in a way, because at the time my parents were very unconscious and they didn't realize kind of what they had on their hands. They didn't realize who I truly was. And, it really took them, quite frankly, almost 40 years for them to kind of realize who I am now and who I always have been. And to a huge degree, I can still see how they can't fully see the true me, and that's okay, because I'm okay with that now. Now, as an adult, I don't need them to see the full me. I needed them to see the full me when I was a kid, when I was a child. But because that wasn't the case, it left these little shards of glass, if you will, energetic shards, fragments, or broken pieces within me that just sat there for years and decades, untouched and unnoticed and unloved, essentially. So, as I'm moving through my own inner child work, and as because I always say to people, like, healing, especially spiritual growth, comes from truly looking at yourself from all aspects. It's not just looking at your adult self, it's looking at your child self, it's looking at your vulnerable self, it's looking at your angry self or your sad self. It's all those different aspects of you because they are all you. You know, we can't separate them. And I think so many people try to, and we label emotions and feelings, and then we try to convince ourselves that which ones are okay to have and which ones are not okay to have. And then we shove all the ones that are not okay to have or feel aside, we push them down, and we simply just don't want to acknowledge them. We don't want to feel them, and we don't want to go into that energy, into that space. However, and that was me for the longest time. I don't think I shed a tear for about 20 years. Like in like the first from about, I don't know, 16, 17 onward, for a good solid almost 20 years, I was not one to cry. I really wasn't, because I was so, crying was weakness in my eyes, because it was weakness in my father's eyes. It was not something that he really ever, did. We never saw him do that. Same with my mother. It just never ever happened. I never witnessed my parents really get emotional as children, unless something like really bad happened with a family member. So it wasn't the norm, for us to be vulnerable, to show our feelings. That was not a norm in our household. And recognizing that now, I realize that feelings are so important to validate and to acknowledge, and just to know that it's okay to be sad, and that it's actually super important to honor those feelings when they come up, because in that moment you have so much power to shift it, to change it, to actually release it. But that's going to be up to you, and for you to decide whether you're going to be comfortable enough to allow those feelings to move through you when they arise. Now, for me, as I said, for 20 years, every time something would arise, I would shove it back down, and anger was usually my go-to. That was how I would respond to things, was I'd get pissed, and I would just, like, even if somebody would hurt me in the worst way, I wouldn't cry about it. I would just get angry about it. And I know I did that because I didn't know how to be vulnerable. I didn't know how to express vulnerability, or how to show it, how to display it, because it wasn't something that I really saw. And, these are the things within ourselves, and you got to think about your own childhood and your own upbringing, or even just your adult life. Like, what are the things that you have experienced or have gone through that you try to shove down, disown, not acknowledge, and push away from yourself, because you thought that those were like bad feelings, that you're not allowed to feel, because you were not comfortable with vulnerability, or you are not comfortable still with vulnerability. And I think when you observe those feelings within yourself and you recognize them, you're going to really see that it's time. It's time to actually become an adult truly. And an adult is someone that, when we grow up, we're supposed to, there's a maturing, right, that we're supposed to go through. But in most cases, I find certain parts of us absolutely don't mature as we age. And the reason why is because those are those little shards of glass that I talked about, those little broken pieces within ourselves. They never age, they never mature. They are just there because it's a certain type of energy, it's a certain frequency of energy that is stored in the body or in the psyche as a result of whatever happened that caused it. So if you're able to recognize those little shards, and if you're able to allow them to move out and through you, through doing inner child work, which means, truly embracing yourself. And when I did this work, it was deep, man. I really, really cried intensely, because when she took me to the part of the meditation where it was about like seeing myself and like literally hugging my child self oh my God, I exploded into tears. And that was my aha moment. In that moment, I realized how much my inner child was hurting and how much she needed my attention and she needed my love and she needed my support and just to hold her. And it's a really, really simple exercise, yet extremely powerful. So I'm really going to recommend this to a lot of people to do this, to take some time and really spend some time with yourself. Be alone if you can when you're doing this kind of stuff. Make sure you do not have any distractions. Definitely be home alone, or make sure that you have some time alone. If there are people in the household, get them to leave, come up with different things. Maybe they can go somewhere, visit someone, whatever. But make sure that you have privacy and you have alone time to do this, because for me personally, I'm not comfortable to do this kind of stuff around other people. So it's very, very private for me. Like I said, I had a huge issue with vulnerability, so it's taking me time, right, to really come out of my shell, to become vulnerable again naturally, because I want to just feel naturally vulnerable. And I know I'm getting there. But it's a process, and I don't feel like I'm 100% there yet. But like I said, it's a work in progress. So take some time out and do that work. It's really, really going to help you, especially with this new moon coming this Saturday, April the 30th. We have so many planets in Pisces right now that are really, really supporting healing, supporting so many positive outcomes for us, that it's absolutely mind-blowing. And if we use this energy to our advantage, then we can achieve tremendous spiritual growth, because that's what I'm recognizing within myself, that it's like leaps and bounds. Like I'm really jumping up the ladder faster than I think I normally would, because I'm doing the work, and I'm doing the work daily now. And I was really dragging my feet there for a while. I was having such a hard time with self-care, and I was having such a hard time getting into meditation, and just to really care for myself, like in a much deeper level, in a much bigger way than I did in the past. That was just hard. It was really difficult. And because I'm so used to nurturing externally, meaning I nurture others and I'm naturally a giver, but to give that same thing back to myself was not something that was easy. And now it is becoming easier and easier. I haven't fully mastered it yet. I don't feel like, oh God, no, like I still have a long way to go. But I do certainly feel like I am leaps and bounds ahead of myself from where I was even, 6 months ago. If I look at where I was 6 months ago emotionally and where I am today, it's like, holy cow, I've really come a long way. And that is because I am doing the work. I am putting in the time and the effort to heal all parts of myself that I know are not healed, that I can feel that are not healed, that I feel still get triggered. Those are the parts of myself that I'm now really looking at healing. And as I'm working through it all, I'm literally changing from the inside out. And it's truly magnificent to see how your life opens and expands when you clear out all of this junk, when you just move all of that stuff through you and you allow it to just move through you. You experience the pain, you experience the sadness, you experience the grief, whatever it is that you need in that moment of healing, and you just sit with it and you allow it to flow through you. And as I have been doing this, it really is changing me. I feel it. It's like it's like the maturing that has happened up until like this point in my life is now, it's a different kind of maturing. I don't know. I can't even kind of put it into words, but it's like a soul maturing. There's like a whole different kind of perspective that I have about how I see other people, how I see situations and circumstances, and really everything. But what I've noticed the most is definitely other people, how I view other people, and how everyone just projects themselves onto us is like mind-blowing to me. Like I've really come to understand that. And the things that I used to take personally before, I don't take personally anymore, because I can really see and recognize how now that I've, gone through some inner child healing, those things are not getting triggered within me anymore. And I get to see these people from a whole new perspective. And I find that pretty amazing. And that is the result of going through the process of healing and putting in the work. And that's why I always tell everybody, like, you're not going to get to the other side. You're not going to reach the abundance and the prosperity and all those things that you want without doing the work. It's not going to happen, because that work is essentially you clearing out the crap. Okay, you are clearing out your karma, you're clearing out your past, you're clearing out traumas, all the things, that the baggage, the heaviness, that is what you're ultimately clearing out. So can you imagine what happens? What happens to a space that you walk into that has just piles and piles of broken glass and garbage everywhere? What happens to a room? Can you move in there? Not really. But if you start to empty out that space and you start to clear out the bags of garbage and you sweep up the shards of glass and you take it to the dump, you're going to realize that all of a sudden you actually have this absolutely gorgeous space, and you have all of this space that is now free and empty for you to fill it with whatever you like. Brand new furniture, some beautiful lighting, maybe some natural plants. Like, think of the creativity of what you could fill that beautiful space with, because you've now made space. There is now just space to put whatever else you want in there. And this is exactly how manifestation works as well. And I don't know, like, I didn't really realize that in the past when I was trying to, like, manifest things. And we're always manifesting, right? And I was manifesting things for myself, but it wasn't to the degree that I really wanted to manifest. And this is why, because there were still so many parts of me that were unhealed, that were untouched, and there was so much baggage and so much garbage in the way that it just really, there was no space for more to come into my life. There was no energetic room for expansion, for growth, because there was so much junk in the way. And now that I'm clearing this junk, and I have been consistently clearing the junk for months, if not years, to be honest, my awakening, like my deep awakening process, really started in 2017. So I've been at this for quite some time. And now I can see how much more space there is. My God, there is an incredible amount of energetic space in my life now, because I've done the work, because I rolled up my sleeves and I took out the trash. And that is what inner child work is. And that's what it does for you. So I would suggest to you, especially with such incredible manifesting energies that we have currently and that we're going to have going into May, take the time to do inner child work and do meditations, and do it as many times and as many in as many different ways as you need to help support your own ascension, to help support you getting to that next level, the next level that you know you deserve to be at, but you just can't quite attain for some reason. Well, this is the reason, because there's still some more work that needs to be done. And this work is truly internal, and it is truly an individual work. This is not something that we can share with others. This is not like the workload. I mean, this is not something that we can, offload to somebody else to do for us. It really has to be us, because only we know truly in our hearts, when you start to look in the heart of what pain is there in there. What is in my heart space, in my heart chakra, that is not allowing it to fully open, to fully expand, to fully allow more in? Because the heart space is, I believe, the power generator for the entire body, especially when it comes to energy. And when I look at the energy field and when I'm sensing the energy field, it's always the heart chakra that is the strongest. And the heart chakra is truly like it's like the machine, the motor, if you will, of the entire energy system. And it just flows and flows and flows. But what flows in really depends on what is in your heart space. And if your heart space is just boggled up and full and crammed full of all kinds of energetic junk, pain and trauma and unhealed wounds and unhealed, perceptions and different things and relationships, then you're going to really limit what can come into you and into your life, because everything comes into our lives through our heart spaces. So the more you close your heart, the less you're going to actually have and receive in your life. And the more you're able to open your heart and expand and allow it to just allow your love and your emotions just to flow freely through the heart space, the more you're going to attract in, the more you're going to allow into your life. So do the inner child work and connect with your heart space, especially this week, especially throughout this weekend. Like I said, on Saturday, the 30th of April, we are going to have this new moon and solar eclipse simultaneously in the sign of Taurus. And then we have a whole bunch of other planets that are in Venus, or that are in Pisces, and Venus will be also joining the party. So this is truly, truly a beautiful and magnificent time for us to ascend energetically. As a matter of fact, I feel like this is the first activation point. There will be a second one in May. So this is a big, big, like, awakening energy that is going to be coming in for us. I can feel it. I have been feeling it for the last couple of weeks now. And I just really want to encourage you to take advantage of it, because this kind of energy doesn't come around often. It really doesn't. And as far as I understand, the last time we had this type of planetary setup was back in like 1856. So this really has not happened in a super long time. It's very, very special. It's a rare event. And I really want people to understand that it's important to take advantage of it. So definitely take some time out for yourself. I don't care how busy your life is, make time, because this is important. Whatever silly worldly 3D things we got to get done oftentimes are things that are going to go actually so much better if we do them after we have meditated, if we do them after we have done some healing work. Because again, what are you doing? You're clearing space, you're expanding. And when we expand, it allows for more opportunities, for more solutions, for more people, just for more to come into your life. So make this the priority over 3D physical things, over work. And I think you will see that it will definitely yield the fruit of your labor. You're going to see the benefit big time. So that is my message for today on this gorgeous Wednesday afternoon, even though it's kind of gray out. But nonetheless, I'm finding that really there is no reason to complain whether it's sunny or whether it's gray. The more that we can just be in acceptance, and the more that we can just allow for things to be as they are without wanting to change them, the more that we are at peace. That is at least what I'm finding for myself. So allow things just to be, and allow yourself to connect deeply to your heart center this week to do some inner child work. That is my message, and thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.